Hey, happy Wine Wednesday. Ooh,
Mira Boucher, Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, all of you across the country, welcome. It's Wednesday, and look at Mira bringing all of her wine glasses in front of her. It's going to be an epic show. How many glasses do you have, Mira?
I have 8. Is that how many?
8?
Oh, no, 7. I have 7 plus my water.
Yeah, you know, I just thought that 7 wines will be just a perfect amount of wine for you to spend the next hour or so talking about Canadian wines. And what amazing just happened in the last week in the world of Canadian wines. And this is Plot Wine Week here at Carl's Wine Club. We are featuring that small producer from the Okanagan Valley, working with minimal intervention wines. And here we go. We can see a lot of visitor in the backyard, in the back behind there. So there's a lot of action at the studio here tonight. Welcome everyone. Un beau bonjour à tout le monde en français, tous nos amateurs de vin francophones de la province du Québec, de toutes les régions francophones du Canada. Carl's Wine Club, ici, c'est Mira et Carl avec un show ce soir qui est pacté du début à la fin. On reçoit les fondateurs de Plot Wine ici dans la vallée de l'Okanagan, un petit producteur minimaliste qui fait des vins incroyables. Donc, on va parler d'une sélection de 7 vins. On a aussi un update sur nos récents événements qu'on va faire dans les prochaines semaines. Et puis, j'ai un vin du vintage de 2013, un Chardonnay de l'Ontario qu'on va parler aussi. Donc, un beau bonjour. Merci de nous suivre. Ça fait plaisir. Everyone on Instagram, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and all across the platform. The Average Wine Enthusiast, Mike LaPlante, good evening. Great to have you on, Mike. Happy Wine Wednesday. Dale Cadeau. Dale from the West Coast here. Bonsoir, good evening. It's going to be an epic show. I am thrilled. I feel like if I just got back from the gym and I'm pumped. And don't worry, I didn't went to the gym. So, we're good. Mira, I filled you up with 7 different wines here tonight. So we're gonna have it's a lot of wine, and there's and they're all identified here because we're gonna taste 5 of the Plot wine, and there's 2 things that I wanted to taste with you tonight, including a back vintage Chardonnay from Hidden Bench Winery, and including a Appassimento style Sauvignon Blanc from Niagara as well. So because we had 5 wines from BC, I felt the need to include a 2 wine from Niagara, but we have a very packed show here, and I cannot wait to talk about minimal intervention wine, about small batch selection from the Okanagan. And from there, if you let me right away, I don't know if you wanted to bring anything, but I'm just thinking of going straight up and bring Kevin and Adam, you're right. Jeez, okay. That's my last coffee. We just sat here, so.
Woohoo!
So people
let's bring them on the show. So Kevin, what's that?
No, I'm just looking at the comment box here, and people are tuning in like crazy. So it's great. We're having a good audience tonight. It's going to be a fun one. But Kevin and Adam, the 2 founder of Plot Wine. So whenever you're ready, Mira, I'll let you bring them in.
So if you want to touch base. Kevin Rossion, winemaker. Hey, Kevin. And Adam Karoliak. Hey, Adam. So good to see you.
What an intro.
Hey, y'all. Hey. Hey, I mean, some people make wine sound boring. I don't know if you guys agree with you, but
nobody's falling asleep on this show.
I know. No, there's no falling asleep here. I mean, if Mira fall asleep, it's because she drank the whole 7 glasses that she has in front of her. That might be a different problem that we have.
I got a couple of these too.
There you go, guys. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad to have you both in tonight. I mean, we're going to have a blast. There's so much that I want to touch base with you. I'm so intrigued. But from the first time that I tasted your wine last summer on our patio, when the third founder, Jamie, she stopped by here in Summerland with a bag full of goodies. And by the moment she left, a couple of hours after, I was sold on what you guys are doing. And it was just a moment. It was just a matter of time when we're gonna feature your wine in the club, because I fell in love with your philosophy, and I fell in love with what's in the glass. I'm not joking. I mean, for me, minimal intervention, natural wine. It's not something that it's not something that I preach from the get-go, right? I'm a guy about good wine, about good philosophy, about something healthy, but it's not something that I promote right out of the gate. But when Jamie left our place last summer, I was like, oh man, I want to know more about these guys. But what's in my glass, it's freaking cool. So Kevin, Adam, thanks for joining me. I want to start with you, Kevin, because your background is pretty cool. You're from overseas. You're from Belgium, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
How did you end up in Kaleden, for God's sake?
Well, I did a little bit of a detour. I was in Spain. So I left Belgium around 2000 and I went to Spain, where I was for 8 years. And I met my wife, which she's from here. She was just traveling. We met there, and not long after I came to visit her here, and I just fell in love with the place on top of being in love with her. So, and I just never really left. We went to Quebec for about 1 year and then came back here and established ourselves here, and I never left. I had no idea this place existed, and I just couldn't believe it. And the vine and everything followed through.
Amazing. So Belgium is the country of beers. At the helm of my career in the restaurant industry, we opened a Belgian brasserie right in the heart of downtown Calgary. And I sourced from the Delirium Tremens all the way to all of these small Trappist beer from Belgium. And that got me connected with the world that you lived in. But how did you become winemaker? What attracted you to wine? Is it the beauty of the Skaha Lake, or what? What happened there?
No, to be honest, it's simply, I mean, my passion, where I most of my time, and what makes me, wake up every morning, it's the vineyards, it's the outdoor, it's been outside. And so I've done that since I've been here, so from 2008. And being in the vineyard and caring for the vines and the grapes from the start of the season, and at the end of the season, just seeing those grapes just being sold and not having to be to the end of the product was a little bit of a letdown. I just felt like, I put so much effort in making the best grape as possible, and then they were just gone. So that's when I started doing a little bit of wine on my own. Just, I was like, oh, those, I want some of that Pinot. I want some of that Chardonnay. So I started making a little bit of wine that way. And it went from, a couple of barrels to 6 barrels to 12. And then with Adam, one day he was just at my place. We were just tasting through those wines, and we were like, Jesus, we got to make more of these. And then that's really how I went to it. I just couldn't let the grapes go. So I was okay selling some, but I had to make some of it. And so then I was able to be from the start to the end involved with it. Vineyard is still where I'm spending most of my time. And that's where I do like to be the seller, but vineyard is still my place to this day.
Hey, there's a saying, there's no good wine without good grapes, right? And I think we're all going to agree here. But let's move to Adam for a second, because Adam, you put what grows in the vineyard, and you put like all of that idea that you guys have, and you put that in the amazing packaging, because your background is a little bit more in the bottling, it's more in the marketing space, it's more on the packaging. So tell us a little bit about your background, Adam.
Yeah, I work in brand strategy and design and packaging for mostly wine and beverage. So the partnering of me and Kevin was, it was made to be. And so I doing that day to day for other clients, and then finally getting to do it for your own brand is something really special, and took a long time, a very nitpicky, detailed process, especially when I do that for other people. For my own, it took, I think, twice as long as I normally would take. So just, our whole concept was always started out, in the spirit of my and Kevin's relationship and meeting, which was always around music and funky house and things that we were DJing together at the time. So I think a lot of the visual cues and stuff and went into plot were supported by that. So that was kind of like a fun start to our relationship and story.
I mean, if it was an 18+ show or something a little later on, I will ask for details on these nights DJing. But I think we're gonna skip that part, and we're gonna.
I'll give you one. It was in a massive 100-person igloo built up at Apex. A full sound system, but a full igloo. It was bizarre, absolutely bizarre. That's where we met.
Hey, you know what, guys? I'm from Quebec City. I grew up in the Winter Carnival. I know the Ice Hotel. It's my generation. So yeah, you get me sold on that. I know that whole thing. So
the small town version of it. Yeah.
Absolutely, right? So now, okay, I know more about, and we always need a wine person. So you guys have your own somm on the team. So Jamie, the third part of the trio here. So Jamie's on the sales side, and she traveled the province and bringing the SKUs to the right place. Am I correct?
Yeah, she's done a lot of that, and she's always supporting us on all of that. Right, Adam?
There you. Well, we have a little freeze here,
I think
but that's all good.
But Jamie, Jamie is sad she can't be here. She has to watch our son right now. But Jamie is extremely important part of our team. She's has her hands in every aspect of plot, and couldn't make it without her.
That's for sure. And okay, so now let's get back to the roots. Let's get back to the home vineyard. That's something that I want to talk with you, Kevin. The plot of land that you found in Kaleden. I mean, I've been with the Canadian wine industry for a while now, and Kaleden is exploding into the scene more and more for the quality of grapes that it grows there. Now we can see producers like Anthony Buchanan, Black Market Wine Company, Lake Boat just established there. There's more and more, Lake Crazy Lake, Skaha Vineyard there as well. So it becomes a hot spot for wineries. But before these wineries established there, it's always been a really good source of grapes. So Kevin, tell me a little bit of your journey finding that plot of land in Kaleden.
Well, I mean, my wife's family was from around here, so it was pretty easy for me to arrive in here. It was just and you got the proximity of the lake, which it keeps a certain I say like an atmospheric with the weather. It's a microclimate almost here. You feel a little bit like the Burgundy, and that's why those varietals, which I think are the one that mostly planted around here now, are like from that region of France. A lot of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay around us. So yeah, for a second I lost it. So I mean, I wish I could show you the view, because it's just behind me. If you see just the location here, where it is, it's just you just fall in love with it. It's not, you can't have big vineyards, which keeps the farming to be very intimate with your neighbor, with, you know, everybody knows everybody, because it's pretty hilly. You got the mountain on the back, so you're pretty stuck in this little area. And nonetheless, it's just vineyards everywhere surrounding us. And yeah, the slope keeps like the frost going down towards the lake. So we have an advantage of like being able to, you know, fight that this way naturally. We have, compared to the other side of the lake where we are in Kaleden, we have the morning sun. So we don't have that baking summer heat. That's what we get in the morning. And so I think it's becoming more an advantage, because it's becoming so hot sometimes, growing something like Pinot Noir or Chardonnay. I mean, we have other things here, but I mean, those varietals being the ones the most present around here, it's better for flavor to get this, like, you know, long term. You don't want to be cooking it too much. So I think that's another advantage of this side and where we are here. But it's just simply beautiful. It's you just got to be here to see it.
I know. And that's why I'm always happy when Jamie said, you need to go to the vineyard at Kevin's place to go pick up something. I'm like, yeah, perfect, because I just absolutely love driving to Kaleden. The view is fantastic. So how many acres is your own vineyard, Kevin, and which grape varietals do you grow on the home vineyard?
So, I mean, I should include, so my own vineyard is about 2.5, 3 acres. So they're not, as I said, they're not big lots. Most of the lot around here are 5 acres in total. So when you take out the roadway, the building, that leaves you generally between 3 and 4 acres. But I should include the family vineyards from which I'm, so my extended family vineyards, which I'm looking after, which are not going to go anywhere. So those are not our personal, but they're also source of some of the grapes on plot. So altogether, it's about 12 to 15 acres just around my place. They're all connected. And then we have another 3 long-term lease. So we're talking about 6 to 10 years old. Again, just around here. So in total, just in Kaleden, which I farm and from which we source for plot, it's I'd say around 30 acres.
Oh, I think we might have run into some trouble. This is the thing. When we interview winemakers, they're usually in a vineyard somewhere where the internet's not always great.
That's usually where I talk to Kevin, but yeah.
Hey, you know what? We live in Summerland by the lake, and often I'm talking to people in Ontario, and I'm like, oh, darn, I'm gone. And like, I realize it's our source here sometimes. So Kevin, we're gonna move with you, Adam, a little bit here. So you're sourcing also, so on the home. So I have here behind me, Tempranillo, Pinot Noir, Cab Sauv. I mean, right there on the red side, you cannot be more different in what you have in terms of representation of the Okanagan Valley. So tell me a little bit more about the philosophy when you guys started. So it was behind the selection of what you guys are going to produce. Is that something you do every year, or is it ever changing?
Yeah, we're always switching it up. And, you know, that is the result of both the concept of plot, where we knew we were going to be sourcing from different spots on the open market too. But part of it was like, Kevin just loves to be able to change things up every year. And we have a couple things that we do the same, and then we have a couple things that we're switching up. And I think that's part of the fun that he has, is getting to try and work with new grapes. And, you know, we're not an estate vineyard really that you know, stays with the same thing that they do every year after year. There are advantages to that. But yeah, we definitely have fun with it and switch things up.
What's the core of the portfolio? The thing that you say, Carl, I can tell your people year in and year out, they can expect Chardonnay from us, or they can expect Tempranillo from us? Is there any of the core of the portfolio that will stick for you with you? Oh.
We're having one of those nights. You know, I think it's throughout the Okanagan tonight. It happens out here, guys. It happens. We forget how rural it is out here. I mean, we literally had to have Rogers put a cable through like hundreds of feet of fields to get our internet.
Can you hear me?
So,
oh,
yes,
you're back. You're back. You're back here. So
sorry about all that. We'll get them back in a second. I wanted to just say a shout out to Clay, Joanna, you guys are here. Mike's here, and actually quite a few joining us on Instagram. So great to see you guys. Jennifer Tosher says hi to Kevin. When he's back, we'll pass it on, Jennifer. And great to see John and Michelle, and
John and Michelle Lewis, probably from Ontario, that they're regular to the show. So this is awesome. So what I wanted to say, because my next question to them, I want to start talking about minimal intervention, because it's a hot topic on the, yeah, it is. Mira, okay, let's start you and me. If I try to, because now with the last report from the Health International, like World Health Report, that wine is now not as good for the health, and like there's all of that bull crap out there, and I'm sick and tired of hearing of that bullshit, to be honest with you. But there's also the new generation, the younger people, who are much more health, I would say, cautious, and they're looking for healthier way of living and this and that. So I believe that the younger generation might have been a little bit more easy to connect with the natural, with the minimal intervention. But for me, as a wine geek, when I dig a little deeper into how the wine shows, how the wine display in my glass, I mean, now I'm starting to believe in the result when I taste wine like this with plot, because to me, I don't know about you, but when we went through the lineup a couple of times, I mean, it's pretty significant, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I never personally go, oh, let's go find a natural wine, but I know some people do, and I respect that. That's awesome. But I think whenever I find a wine that I love, and then I find out that it's made ethically, that it's natural, like it's low intervention, that it's as healthy as can be in terms of, you know, not a whole bunch of weird stuff in there that we don't know what it is. I think that's such a big bonus. I love that. I think back to when we discovered that one of our favorite wines we had tasted at the time from Pearl Morissette, and we found out actually they do crazy low intervention there.
Absolutely.
It wasn't something that they even advertise, actually, but it's just such a nice thing to know that it was good, and now it's even better when you know that, right? But
so I want to do something. Yeah, I want to do something with all of these people who are listening to us. I want to know, what is, to people who listen tonight, tell us in the chat, okay? What is your expectation when you buy a low intervention wine, or what do you expect from that purchase? So now that Kevin and Adams are back on, sorry about that. This is somewhere between Kelowna and Kaleden. Something is floating. So thanks for being back, guys. I want to touch base about low intervention, because there's a million of different definition out there, and I'm coming with my own now. I'm saying that I think it's up to there's a core value into the definition of minimal intervention, but I think everyone has a little bit of an interpretation of what it is. I want to know, Kevin, what is your, not definition, but what's your core value, and how do you go about your winemaking style as minimal interventionist?
I mean, I really, as you were mentioning before, somehow, I'm just trying to make the best wine as possible. So I'm not stick to just being like, you know, strict about things, but being in the vineyard, I think if you really work with really good grapes, I feel, I want to keep them as true themselves as possible. I feel like, if I'm starting to change acid, if I'm trying to start to take this out and adding this, then I feel I lose the nature of my work in the vineyard, and I will spend a lot of time, a lot of work there. So it's my energy and my time is spent on the vineyard, so I don't have to do it so much in the cellar. I mean, I'm not against filtering. I'm not against thinning. I've done it. I'll do it. If I do it, I'll always try to do it the most natural way as possible. But if I can do without it, if I find the quality enough and I want to bring, and I can keep the nature of the grapes and bring the wine as it is that way, that's the way I want to do it. And luckily enough, we've been able to keep the grapes to the highest quality than we've been able to keep it that way, not having to do anything else. It requires a little more racking, so you don't, because nobody wants too many sediment. I mean, it's fine to have a little bit of sediment, but you still don't want to be drinking a glass that is full of it. So it'll just require a little bit more racking, which, a little bit more loss of the wines at the end of the day. And you want to make sure you really good at keeping the temperature. Like, you don't want things to go too crazy in the cellar, because again, anything would require intervention. So if you do a good job at controlling it and start with a very good product, then that's how I want to keep it. I mean, I don't like to eat processed food the same way, then I don't want to have my wine to be too processed, right?
That makes a ton of sense. And all of your wines are you use natural yeast, so there's no selected yeast in any of your wine, or there's a few of them that you say, yeah, once in a while we use selected yeast to protect or to prevent any I would say any disaster.
No, I mean, the only wine I've always been doing a Chardonnay, which has usually some barrels out of the blend, with which I use one specific yeast, which I've always loved what it does to the wine. So out of all the wine, and then I still right now on the market, the Chardonnay is the only one which will have a couple of barrels into the blend, which will have gone through a specific French yeast. Everything else has been done on white ferment native. Most of the wine, obviously the red, but most of the white usually also go through skin contact. It's something that is kind of, comes back in most of the wine. But other than that, yeah, no other wine, none of the red for sure. I haven't used the yeast in the red in a long, long time. Again, I just like what I get out of the the natural yeast. And yeah, the Chardonnay will be the only one and only partial.
Okay. And Adam, on your side, when you position your brand, I mean, was it at the very beginning, you say we're going to go minimal intervention in terms of a brand recognition, in terms of placement, in terms of demographic that you're targeting, or it was purely and absolutely just with your fundamental belief and saying, that's the only way I'm going into a business. I want to do this kind of stuff. Was it part of the decision making in the very beginning?
Yeah, it really fed into who we thought and who thought we knew we were targeting at the time, which is a younger demographic. Some of the funkiness that happens with some of the typography on the label, that is mimicking how we kind of pictured us moving with minimal intervention. Some of those organic, funky fonts. And also some of the decision we made that was stepped away from what other natural wineries were doing was we wanted to have, consistency across the labels. Other wineries you see use different photos and different paintings that they source for each label, which is really cool. But when you do that over time, nobody recognizes you on shelf. And so we hear all the time that people look for a bright orange funky label and they can find us all the time. So when we heard people say that, we knew we were on the right track. And also, now that I'm seeing you show it, there is really pushing the display of all the technical details and making sure everybody can find the info about the wine right then and there without having to go online. So that was a big deal for us too. And
yeah, funny enough, and I have to tell our listener a fun story. So when I do all of my tasting notes and all of the scoring, I always ask the winery to send me the technical sheet, because if I have any question about barrel aging or picking dates or anything, I have that on hand. And I got from Plot, I got a photo of the label. And I'm like, here you go. Here is the tech. That's the tech sheet on the snapshot right there on the label. And I love that. I absolutely love that.
And I push a lot of clients like in branding projects to do the same, because, you know, transparency was big when we started this. We wanted to be all open and honest about things we're doing. And part of that is putting everything on the label, on the bottle, as much as we can fit, at least. So that was a big part. And that feeds into the aesthetic too, is that technical kind of side of it, juxtaposed with the funkier side too. So
it's really fantastic. I can't tell you, like, we have tasted about 1,200 wines a year now for a few years. And so thousands of Canadian wines. Your label was the most comprehensive one we've ever found. There's so many labels where you don't even know what the blend is. Like, you get it's a white wine. You don't know, right? You don't know. Is it Chardonnay? Is there what's in there? Who knows?
Yeah. You know, I really like the family history, but when the family's on there and behind every single label, the same history, and I'm like, okay, can I have more information, please? Now you guys are to the dot, to the T. It's perfect. I really love that. And I'm sure when it's time for retail store, I believe that the consumer can recognize, like, it's something that helped the consumer as well.
Yeah, we think that too. We've heard some feedback from people about that. So that's all we've been able to capture, but it seems like people are responding well to that. So that's great.
There's one myth that I would like to crush right here. Okay, it's when people say, okay, natural wines, they go bad really quickly. You can't keep the wine open, or you can't age these wines properly. So one thing that I have to say, okay, to everyone, it's just me personally that we opened that wine here. Nice, it's nice. I opened it almost a week ago now. Okay. Wow, and this wine, by purpose, I have my rubber top that I pump the air out. This one, I did not do it on purpose. I wanted to see, just with the cork, how long would it gonna last. This wine hasn't gone bad yet, and it's almost 7 days that's open now. So here is one myth. If you don't put a ton of sulfur, the wine's gonna go bad right away. Well, this is bullshit. Okay, yeah. So second, about ageability, I would like to talk to the winemaker here. And what is with your own product, your own creation, what's the aging potential that you believe that you're putting in bottle right now?
I mean, each wine will be a bit different, based, you know.
Well, obviously, yes, I agree. Okay, bad question. Every varietals has a different shelf expectation. Let's talk about, let's say, one of my favorite that absolutely blew my socks off. It's a Tempranillo. We're going to talk about it a little later on. So let's take the Tempranillo for an example. What would be the shelf life for this wine?
So I would be more, to be honest, I would be more worried about the cork than the wine itself when it comes to aging. So ideally, I believe that 7 to 12 years should be handling no problem. But I'm always worried from 5 years old on, then the cork, it's what will be failing to you. So if you were to really wanting to keep it for longer, I would recommend by like 4 or 5 years switching, if you can, the cork in a delicate way. But I mean, there's also an ideal time to drink it and ageability. I think 5 years is probably when it will be about its prime, because it's still, although it's a Tempranillo, it's done quite in a light style. It won't be your classic Rioja that needs 25 years before smoothing and settling down. This is a lighter style, so it's ready earlier, and it has less of that tannin than sometimes is almost too potent in Spanish wine, and sometimes that's why they won't even release it for 10 years. So this one could be released earlier, but I think it would probably reach its potential in about 5 years. For that reason, the ageability, yeah, I would say, keep it up to 7 to 12 years, but I'll probably have drink most of mine by 5 years.
Well, I'm a little bit of the school that I like my wine vibrant and full of energy. I'm not the type of guy who waits on the back end of the curve. I think it's too much of a risky proposition anyway. And I like my wine. I like my people around me young and vibrant, I guess. So yeah, we're in the same page.
And you know what is funny? I like my wines with a little more age, and people too. No, just kidding. But yeah,
one of the jokes we kind of have is that our production is so small that we do such a bad job at saving library wines because we go through it like real fast. So we should probably have a case of our first Tempranillo, and that's it.
Wow.
And okay.
Speaking of that.
Well, speaking of that, you guys made available 2 cases of your first ever Chardonnay. So the 2018 Chard that I rated 91 points, I think now is shining in all aspect of his potential right now. Texturally, the acids are still bright. The creaminess is absolutely beautiful. Everything is in balance at the moment. So you guys have made 200 cases at the very beginning of this first wine?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
So now there's maybe 1 case which is going to be kept for the library, and there's 2 cases for the Cars Wine Club members this week. So I love that Chard. If you have to describe the style of Chardonnay that you guys are making, how would you like to describe it to our people? Is it more, let's say, California style? Is it more New Zealand? Is it more Burgundy? How do you guys, or you just let the grape shine? There's no style in mind. You just guys go with what you think you have in hand.
I mean, I would say, if I was to choose a model which I wanted to go, it would probably on the French style, but it's not, we're not in France. I can't pretend to have 100-year-old vines, and the soil is different. We don't have the minerality here nowhere in the Okanagan than you can have in places in France. So I'd say it's an Okanagan Chardonnay, which is but I would describe it more balanced than the Napa probably one, than the American one, but because it's not as big. I mean, it's really balanced. He has the right acid with the body and the oak to it. I think it's a balanced one. But I mean, my model would be French, but it can't be. So it'd be
in the context of our own wines, though. This one has the heaviest oak touch of all our Chardonnays, I think, which is why I think it's shining so well right now too.
I agree. And when I tasted it, what reminded me the Russian River Valley in Sonoma, so closer to the ocean. This is not the big heavy one that you find in Napa Valley, but there's that oak, that opulent oak was well integrated, and the acids are bright. So that's what came to my mind when I tasted it first. So yeah, just my personal opinion, but well done. I love that Chardonnay, and there's only 24 bottles available. So for people who are listening, if you want to give it a crack, it's the first ever vintage of plot production. So get at it while it's available.
So it's well aged. I have to say though, since we're talking about Chardonnay, I have this thick wine in my glass. Again, like we've had this open over a week. It's a white wine. It is gorgeous. Like the finish here just keeps going. Some wines, especially white wines, after a day or two of being open, even if you like keep it in the fridge and you pump it out of air, like they don't last very long. But this one has, and it is just getting better every day. That's amazing.
Surprisingly, we get a lot of liquor stores asking us that question. They say, how long would it last, like open and in a fridge? And like we're able to tell them with more confidence, like 3 to 5 days, like you could do it. So
yeah, easily. Yeah. And for us, that's often also telling us that there's probably quite a lot of life ahead of this bottle, because I think some winemakers have told us that, you know, for every day you have it open, you know, with the lid on overnight, obviously, but every day that air is kind of giving it almost like a year to 2 years of aging for every day you have it open. So if you've had it open a week, I mean, that means this is potentially what it could taste like in like 10 years, you know?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
you know,
I mean-
let's be real here. These two varietals blended together. Okay, you put 50%. Okay, let's 55-45, whatever the number is, 60-40. Viognier Chardonnay. You need someone who's acid centric to make this wine work in the long run, because Viognier is not the known varietal to have the most natural acidity. So you need, as a winemaker, you need to work that wine properly, in the sense that when to pick to keep the natural acid. And welcome to the Okanagan Valley. You got acid as much as you want here. So that allows you to make that style of wine.
But we were still able to, well, I mean, the thickness could also come from how the body then came out of this wine, like which really make the acid integrated perfectly. It's I mean, it's big and beautiful. That's how I call it. Yeah.
It's a steak white wine. It's a white wine that you open with a big steak. I mean, if someone said, "Oh, I'm just a big wine drinker," I say, "I got it. I got the wine you want. It's white, but it's big." I love it. But big, but not heavy. To me, that's critical. Like, you can't have a big wine without. When you get a heavy wine, that's where I'm starting to question how the wine was made, and you found a way to keep it light on its feet, even if it's a big and bold wine.
Yeah, the Viognier brings it that into the blend B also higher than on the level than the Chardonnay. I think that's what brings a bit the balance too, because the Chardonnay was really big, and you know, it was a later harvest on the Chardonnay, and that Viognier with it really makes it that balance, I think, and kept the middle beautiful.
Well, it's awesome. Before Jamie lose her mind on me and say, "Hey, you kept Adam all freaking night live while I'm taking care of the kids," and I promise that I'm going to keep it kind of short.
Okay.
Mira always laugh in the background when I say, "Yeah, half an hour." She's like, "Yeah, right. Yeah, right." 3 years in, I've never been able to do it in half an hour, so already apologize. Let's get to the red portfolio, okay? I have 3 wines open here. I have the Cab Sauv, I have the Tempranillo, obviously, and I have the Neighbor. I want to get back to the Tempranillo because it's a curiosity here, okay? We're in the Okanagan. There's not a ton of Tempranillo out there. We all know these big, bold, long-lasting Rioja wine, but what we have here is completely different, obviously. So, but this one, when I cracked that open, first and foremost with the previous vintage, you got my attention. I'm like, oh my God, I love how fresh, how bright this wine is, and I also like this. There's some body to it. So let's move on to the 2021, and this one absolutely blew my socks off. I fell in love. 92 points. It's the highest score wine in that feature with Neighbors. 50 cases produced. So, Adam, when you guys, is it something that you went out and sourced Tempranillo, or because you knew that you can have access to that type of grape, or what was the strategy with that super kind of grape?
Well, honestly, this is all Kevin, and he actually grows this one. It's one of 3 that are grown on his home block, and it's very dear to his heart. I think mostly from spending a lot of time in Spain too. Like, he grew up in Belgium, but he spent a lot of his adult life in Spain. So I'll let Kevin talk about why he decided to plant that.
So,
Kevin,
I mean,
take me to the winemaking facility with you here.
So I mean, Tempranillo, yeah, like we missed that because we got disconnected. Just I was talking about the vineyard, and you were just the last thing I heard was you asking about the varietals here. So the 3 varietals planted in my personal vineyard here, which everything was done by myself, years ago when I started, is the Muscat, the Sauvignon Blanc, which you'll find in the it's nice, but there's also Muscat in the Orange we do. But the only red I have is the Tempranillo. Not a lot of it, but it's on the sunnier side and with the best exposure. Why Tempranillo? I mean, I was doing my research at the beginning when I was here. I just loved this grape from when I was in Spain. It's a grape that is fairly easy to look after. And, I from the start, I knew that I wanted to be organic. I wasn't, so I wanted to have something that I was kind of like easier to manage. And though it's, grown in Spain and we have this idea, okay, you need like tons of sun, you need tons of temperature. Tempranillo, it actually means temprano in Spanish actually means early, because it is actually an earlier ripening varietal. Now, yes, in Spain, but they do over there have it quite heavy. And so by simply keeping it lighter on the vine here, I'm able to reach what I want with that grapes, different from Spain, but different from having a Merlot or a Pinot Noir. So I wanted it something different that I could work with, and I loved it, and something that I had special, feeling for, and that's when I came in. I don't think there was really much. There's a little bit more around now, but it's still very, very, not a lot of it. I was actually in Spain last week. I just came back from Spain, spending a month there, and then just drinking a lot of different Tempranillo, and it's just varietals that I fall in love with long time ago.
You're gonna start making it in clay amphora soon, and no.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I like my good old barrels, and but yeah, no, it's and I mean, it also actually a very good blender, but it would just be sad to be blending this. But it wasn't originally when I thought of it. I was like, this could really well go well. It's quite commonly blended with Grenache or Mourvèdre. You have some other varietals of cabs that it could be blended. So originally, that's what one of my thoughts was like. I wasn't sure, but after just doing the first red barrel of it, I was like, I'm just not gonna stop doing this. This is just fantastic.
Well, 2021 vintage has two barrels of it, and hopefully by the end of the week, there's not going to be a whole lot left, because I absolutely love. This is the rock star wine of the week. Kevin, you absolutely nailed that one. In a vintage that was not easy with the heat dome early in June and early July. I mean, this vintage threw some wrench at your operation, something that you've never faced before necessarily, right?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like every single year now we're facing something we haven't faced before. It's kind
No
of
shit. Yeah, I guess.
I guess it keeps us on the toes and makes our job something not boring. That definitely we keep learning about that. But yeah, I mean, again, that's what I was explaining about being not on the sunniest side of the lake, which we don't have the hottest sun. And it's a vine, Tempranillo, then shuts down naturally very quickly when it gets too hot. So you'll see in Spain they're growing in a different way. They have those like single vine, not really with wires, at least in many places. I'm growing it here in the system we use the most here with wires, and you could see right away the vine shutting down as soon as it gets too hot. It just looks like it's starving for water. But what happened is the plant itself just shuts it down, just takes a break and protects itself, and then when the temperature stops, it'll come back. All the vines will do that, but Tempranillo does that very early, and I have a very self-protected nature, which maybe somehow will have that year. But the fact that we don't have the afternoon baking sun probably would also did something about that.
You know what? I mean, For people who think that minimal intervention has to be drink right away, we opened that Sunday around lunchtime, and I let it breed all afternoon. And on Wednesday night, this wine just keep improving. Hasn't hit not a hint of oxidation yet. It just keeps improving and evolving. The dark chocolate has faded off. The savoriness has I took over, but the blue plum and the ripe raspberry are still right there. The acid is fantastic. I mean, this is a world-class wine. Sorry, I can't spend another hour just talking about this wine, so get me moving here.
I think that was one of Carl's real favorites in that one. But you also put a splash of...
Sorry,
yeah.
No, finish.
Oh, no, I was going to say you put a splash of Tempranillo in the neighbor, but what were you going to say?
That's exactly what I was going to say. What a segue that is.
Yeah, that's perfect.
We've been practicing that since last night. I mean, it's all rehearsed, right?
Very scripted.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, the neighbor, like, this is rare to see a blend with a splash of Tempranillo in this way, right?
Yeah, I guess it's a funky touch. Then we've kept true to all our wine. We're not trying to do a specific model. We just try to do something that is nice and is fun to do. And I honestly don't remember why we took that decision, but
I think it was because we couldn't actually find any Petit Verdot.
It's possible, yeah. But we also then the tasting with it, and we thought the addition was perfect to it, and then we were like, why you need Petit Verdot when you can have a beautiful Tempranillo in it? Yeah,
you nailed it.
It was cool to have it. I think it was cool to have a touch of Tempranillo to it. You know, it was making it like just a little special.
That's funny because Mira asked me the same thing. Why Tempranillo? And I said, you know what? There's no Petit Verdot in there. It's probably just to substitute the Petit Verdot. And boom, it works absolutely perfectly. It's awesome. So the strategy behind the neighbor is to go source through 4 different vineyards of your long-term partners, or how do you come up with the final blend?
Well, I mean, Plot, although we have the home vineyards and those that are like around here, which we sourced our base, it also comes from the fact that, I don't only do my vineyards. I'm looking after plenty of vineyards on my side job. I'm having another job on the side, which is vineyard manager. And I used to work.
By the way, Jennifer says hi to you.
Oh.
She was listening to the show earlier.
So I've been to everywhere around here, from Kelowna to Osoyoos, and so I was just working with all those people and all those vineyards, and so many vineyards, and would stand out, and I would just try to put my hands on some of the grapes there. So sometimes we would get a couple of tons from these vineyards, sometimes from there. So a lot of that we've been integrating into our wines. There's some wines that we've done now. We knew it would be just a 1 year off. So we have a base from which we're working with, but we always have surprise varietals that we find every single year, depending on the season and how things goes. I believe pretty much our rosé every single year have been quite different for that same reason. We keep looking for different varietals to make a different rosé. Similar, we keep the philosophy and the style the same, but we go with different varietals to try to get something interesting, new. So that's where Plot really, at least the name, the idea came from. So when it comes to make the blend, based on what we got this year, on what we got that year, we go through everything and then we take our decision. We know what we want to be doing, but it's not always possible. Pinot Noir, it's a good example. It's been for years I've been wanting to have Pinot Noir. We couldn't get it, and it was always not the right year. So that's why, some years we'll have a certain wine and it wouldn't be there the next year. But regarding the blend, we just go through everything once it's getting ready, and we take the decision on making the best wine as possible, even if it's not, the same model as the one before. The idea is just make the best wine out of it.
I have to say, as much as the Tempranillo is the sexy name, the Tempranillo wine, the bottle, that's the 50 cases. That's the one that I want to go after it. It's impressive because there's not a lot around. Technically, the neighbor is the sound wine. This one is absolutely so well made and is developing so beautifully. This is a textbook wine. I love the progression of flavors from the nose, who takes me right in, and the flow bring me to the palate, and just like there's a perfect flow in that wine. It's a 92 points, and I just like, since it's been open since Saturday for this one, I just feel like I should have given it an extra half a point or something. This wine is absolutely beautiful. Sounds well made, well structured. This, I can't see that age easily for 10 years. There's no doubt in my mind.
And it's predominantly Cap Sauv, which is not the most usual, higher varietals in that kind of blend, and I think that's a big part of it.
And 2020 allowed you to go get a little bit more Cabernet Sauvignon. 2020 was a warm year, so I believe that plays into the vintage, correct?
Definitely, yeah.
Awesome. I mean, guys, I love it. I can keep that conversation going for another.
Yeah, we love what you're doing, you guys, and we just imagine. We really appreciate it too, and we just imagine, because like the amount of care and thoughtfulness is put through the way that the wines are presented is also in how they taste. It's incredible, and the winemaking, and we just imagine that you're sitting around and you're thinking, what should we name this wine, and then it's like, oh, let's just call it It's Nice, or let's just call it thick,
exactly
because it feels that way. It's so voluptuous, right? So we just love that, how fun these labels are, but also how serious the wines are. I mean, these are really, really, really fantastic wines. Someone mentioned earlier, and I think you mentioned, Kevin, you try to be organic or farm organically, sustainably. So that's another big important piece of it. And just the minimal intervention. You're doing an amazing job. I know it's I think harder probably to do it that way, because you don't have as many tools as someone who can say, oh, if we screw this part up, we'll just throw some artificial stuff in there and fix it, right?
I don't know. I think if you do the right thing at the start, it's actually easier later on.
Nice.
And I believe, I have no doubt, and being organic, we're not certified, because I don't know, I don't think I never get to do the paperwork and get to that. But I've been farming organically everything around here, from which we source our grapes from day one, because this is the way I want to do it. And I think when the grapes comes out so good from the start, then it's not actually that hard later on. You just gotta, you just control them, but you let them do the job. So I think it's not actually that hard, as long as you do a right job from the start.
Like every chef would say, right? The chef would say, give me some fresh ingredient, I'll cook you something right.
Yeah,
it's true.
Absolutely. And Adam, for you, on your side, what's coming up there? Is there anything exciting coming in your world, coming up with Plot, these new release coming up? What's exciting with you guys?
Actually, this Tempranillo was just our recent release, so that's the most exciting. No, I mean, not too much. I mean, as everybody's been talking about nonstop, I mean, vineyards have been getting hammered this year. I think we're still waiting to see what it's going to look like. And I mean, Kevin is on the ground every day looking at that. And I mean, what did you say, Kevin? Like next month, everybody will have a pretty clear picture by May.
I think so. Yeah, we everybody's on the wait and wait and see right now. I'm mostly working with my my chicken crew here right now on weed control and all that, because that's what happened. I gotta I do have to mention my chicken because they do a lot of work for me around here. You know,
on top of the chicken crew. I love it. I love it.
On top of the breakfast, they do the the pest control and all that. But we're just waiting to see what's gonna be looking like this season. So it's hard to make any plan until it's looking pretty scary. The last 2 winters have been very tough, like one year after the other. So it's hard to at this point making any plan on that. We know then we're not gonna change our philosophy and what we're doing. We just may have to adapt to the consequences. If it's gonna have to take more time, then so be it. But yeah, we'll have to take a bit of time to decide what's gonna happen.
Well, I would like to say, guys, thanks for sharing with us. Thanks for spending the time to tell the story and to share the wines with our people across the country. It's worth discovering. It's what's in the glass is very freaking impressive. So if people who are not sure, anywhere you guys are around the country, give it a try. It's freaking worth it. It's amazing.
Thank you both.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you both so much for having us on here. It's been amazing talking to you.
I wish I could describe the wine the way to say it.
Hey, I'm 20. Kevin, I'm 20 minutes away, man. I can swing by and spend time with you.
Yes, we love doing that. We're often in Kaleden, so we'll have to meet in person. It's funny, we often meet people like this, and then we meet in person. So it's kind of backwards, but hopefully we get to meet in person very soon. And we really appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you so much.
I have a few bottles of Pearl Morissette in my wall here, so maybe we can all walk the vineyard and share on a bottle of Pearl Morissette together, guys.
Nice. I got a couple stashed away here too.
There you go. There you go. Okay, guys, thanks for your time. You have a good one, and we'll chat soon, okay?
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Thanks a million. There you go. I mean, what a great conversation, eh?
Oh my gosh, yeah, these guys are serious. Sometimes people ask us, like, how can you spend $100 for a bottle of wine? Not that these wines are anywhere near that price point, but it's because
the top price on their portfolio is $36. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. No, these are great value, I think, for what you're getting in the glass. Absolutely. And you know what? I said to someone recently, it was last week, I think we had someone that is not necessarily a wine lover who says, how do you do that? I would never spend that much on a bottle of wine. And it's like, you know what? It's a hobby and a passion. It's just like, it's true. I would never spend that much on fly fishing gear, but some people spend 15, 20,000 a year on fly fishing gear, and they go and they spend all their time doing that. And that's kind of how we are with wine, right? And that's clearly how these guys are with wine at Plot. They are very, very passionate, very, very nerdy, and I think they're kindred spirits in that sense.
Oh, I mean, and then let's stay on the price point conversation. I mean, that's the neighbor should be $50 or more. Absolutely no doubt. It's already on paper. It's already all over the country. So don't worry about that. They might change their mind after, but that's fine with me. But this neighbor wine over-deliver a shit ton for $36. This wine with everything that I have in my glass, like, look at that. I'm almost at the end here. I filled my spittoon with it. It just keeps getting better and better. Holy shit, that wine's good. I absolutely love that.
I love it too. And Dale is going out on a limb and trying something new. And that's awesome, Dale. I mean, I know most of us don't need a lot more wine in the cellar. But you know what? It's always fun to discover something new. And this is a completely sort of new little region too. Kaleden is up and coming. So some of these wines have grapes from Kevin's estate vineyard, and then throughout the Okanagan, obviously, as well. But yeah, it's always great to discover.
Yeah, over the rips. Like, it's really, really impressive. And I'm so happy that we opened these wines much earlier, like 4, 5, 6 days ago. It gives me such a good understanding now of where you can go with these wines. But I have to say that neighbor, holy shit, that is good tonight. Holy crap. It shows so
which
well.
one? Is the one that has an N on it?
You got that right. You got that right, sweetheart.
I was done a good job labeling my like seven glasses that I have floating around here. Thank you.
I have to jump on. I have two other wines, and I want to keep talking. So I'm sorry that I'm keeping everyone hanging around tonight. We're going to go a little over time because we have to talk about Ontario trip. We are going to Niagara. We are going to be rocking the Niagara wine industry for 5 days when we're there from the Ontario Craft Winery Conference. But we have two events that we're putting together. One is the Friday night with l'Académie du Vin in collaboration with Mark Nadeau.
It's a Thursday night.
That's true. That's the plane on the plane ride back on Friday night.
Anyway, that's what this was all about. We pre-tasted these back vintages, 9 back vintages of Canadian wine, tasted side by side with international icons. I know Mike and Jennifer are going to be there. That's awesome, Mike. We can't wait to see you. Sounds like Dale has rearranged his plans. He's I think, Dale, you're in BC normally, but he's going to be in Toronto that night and is coming. Carl wants to keep talking. Is he feeling okay? I know. Normally he's so shy. He just wants to get off right away.
So last Thursday,
so this is one that didn't make it here in the mail, right? It was
last Thursday, one of the wine didn't make it on time, and it's the 2013 Hidden Bench Chardonnay, and it arrived over on Friday actually. So
this means HB on my glass means this is the 2013 Hidden Bench.
That's the 2013 Hidden Bench, and that tasting that we're putting together with in collaboration with l'Académie du Vin and the Vintage Conservatory in Toronto is to dispel the myth that Canadian wine cannot age. Okay, and I haven't done an overview of our tasting last Thursday, but if you still think that Canadian wine can't age, well, guess what? Change your mind right now. I have 10 stories to tell you that I have tasted last week that will change your mind in any way, shape, or form. The wines that we tasted last week were absolutely exceptional. They all aged gracefully and incredibly well. I can review all of them, but let's talk about the oldest wine, the 2006 Stratus White, which is a blend of Chardonnay, Viognier, Gewürztraminer, and Riesling. I mean, this 2006 vintage wine, a white wine, is 18 years old. And this wine, Mira, go ahead. I know that you're dying.
It's like the fountain of youth, that 2006 Stratus. It's like the fountain of youth. Mike, Dale, Jennifer, you guys are going to see.
This is an explosion of flavors. It is incredible. I mean, it was mind-boggling. Just in the fact that the 2006 and have that freshness, that complexity, just a slight hint of oxidation, but just slightly, who tells me that wines is real, right? It just tells me that it goes through the natural process. But Jesus Christ, oh my God, we had fun tasting that. The 2014 Cave Spring Riesling, the CSV Riesling, I mean, the purity and the richness of that wine was absolutely incredible. And I did the tasting live. And after that, Richard De Silva, vigneron owner, winemaker at De Silva Winery, joined me to retaste all of these wines with Rob Amersley, owner and winemaker at Black Market Wine Company. Myself and Mira and their wives, we all sat and retasted these wines all together. It was a late night. I'll tell you one thing. The boys stayed up really nice tasting these 9 wines back and forth and arguing on which wine is.
I went to sleep. I couldn't stand it anymore. I was like, I don't know.
But I know. I give her a tap, say, babe, you can go. That's okay. I got you covered here. But yeah, at the end of the night, Richard said the Cave Spring was his absolute favorite wine of all. And to me, the Benjamin Bridge, the sélection de découpement parcellaire blanc de blanc, absolutely. My God. Oh my God.
That's one of those game changer wines.
That wine is going to be on the top 3 wine of the year. Like, if it's not the top 1, it's going to be in the top 3. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. Découpement parcellaire of Benjamin Bridge, Blanc de Blanc.
You're just teasing everyone because it's already sold out. So
yeah. And review my covers.
To the tasting in Toronto, you'll get to taste it.
Exactly. And the other white in that, this is the 2013 one. I haven't had a sip yet. I
I have. So you're in for a treat. You're in for a big treat. Let's see.
Well, I mean, the nose is fantastic. It's lemon meringue. It's citrus. It's cookie dough of that baked croissant.
Oh, it's beautiful. So if you're just stopping by, it's a 2013 Hidden Bench Chardonnay from Ontario. So 2013, I mean, that's 11 years now. 11 years almost.
I mean, this is not the end of that wine. I tell you one thing.
It can keep
this
going.
Is beautiful. Right? This is beautiful. It's gracious. It's mature. It's round. There's that line of minerality, a seashell minerality right in the middle of it. There's poached pear. There's a hint of caramel, drizzle of caramel on the top of my poached pear, but there's also lemon. There's a beautiful length in there. It's a really, really gracious wine.
Gosh, that's tasty.
I love that. Oh my God, I'm going to geek out on that for the rest of the night.
Yep.
Oh, that is fantastic. I absolutely love that. So yeah, I mean, and when we reviewed all of the reds sitting at the table with Richard and Mira and Rob and Michelle, we tasted the 2012, the Silva, the Painted Rock 2014, the River Stone, Milestone, and the Epic 2012. Leaning Post, Laurie Vineyard, also the Summerhill Speedfoot Toad Syrah. So can you just imagine these 6 reds side by side? I mean, they were all the absolute bomb. All of them from the so well aged Leaning Post 2012 from a very famous vineyard on Niagara-on-the-Lake. I mean, beautiful, still alive, but like all of the characteristic of a beautifully aged Pinot Noir. It was fantastic. I had a really, really soft spot for the Milestone 2015 from Riverstone was my top wine of the year last year. That's the wine who gave my business partner dreams at night. I mean, it sure did.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal wine. It's something else.
And it showed again last week that that was not a moment that we had last year tasting that and just thinking that it was better than it usually are. No, it is the confirmation that that wine of the year was truly an incredibly rare wine in terms of how it was made. So it really stole the show to me. last Thursday night, but I have to say that the 2012 Legato Merlot from De Silva, I think that Rob Amersley walked out the door saying that it was the wine of the night. Rob was absolutely blown away by that 2012 Merlot. And there was other debate around the table about someone that really liked the 14 Spadefoot Toad Syrah. So yeah, it was
lots to talk about with those. I mean, you can't. That's why we stayed up so late. But Mike has a really good point here. Do you guys remember? I don't know how many of us were there. It was only maybe like 15 people, maybe some members. We met at Marcel's former bottle shop in
Hillfire.
Yeah. And Mike was there clearly, and he remembers Marcel brought out a 1999 Piloteri wine.
Cab Franc.
He'd probably forgotten a Cab Franc that he'd kind of forgotten in his cellar. This was not like one of those wines you buy and you think, I'm going to age this wine 23 years. Right? It was not a super expensive wine. This was probably when he bought it, equivalent of, a $20, $25 wine. This was not right, Carl? And Sue-Ann staff made it when she was working at Piloteri, and it was still vibrant, going strong, tasted amazing.
Absolutely. It was a heck of an experience that we had.
Something else, baby.
So yeah, and I just had the last wine here. It's labeled COL on the feet of your glass. We had a beautiful package sent by Christopher Culinary from Culinary Estate in Ontario. Sorry. And so we got that box yesterday with the beautiful folder, all well presented, 9 wines from Culinary. And I started to dig into these bottles yesterday with a 80% Appassimento Merlot. So that was from the 2020 vintage, so a big, bold, and rich Appassimento, which was really good. I gave it a 92 points. And this wine was just bottled a few months ago. Anyway, so I was so pleased. But Mira really loved Sauvignon Blanc. And there's a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc in the box made with 50% of the Sauvignon Blanc juice, Appassimento style. So I thought that it was very, very unique. So I wanted to try that live tonight to give you my impression of it. And it's very unique. This is a super flinty nose. The nose is flinty as you can be. The palate is rich. The palate is not heavy. There's that dry apricot in there. There's also some pear and
he's talking about Culinary, so I have to say one of my favorite things. I've never been there. Maybe Mike, Jennifer, you're listening. Maybe we can squeeze Culinary in. I've never been there into our visit in Niagara, but they do have donkey tours in the traditional Italian kind of style. So anyways,
south of Italy. Yeah. Elaine was asking about higher alcohol. So the Merlot Appassimento is much higher alcohol. It's at 15.9. So truly a Marrone style, right? When you but with the Sauvignon Blanc, you're at 13 on the dot. So a little bit more, like definitely higher than the classic Marlborough New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, but not much higher than any Fumé Blanc when you make it on oak treatments or any warmer vintage that you find around. So not necessarily higher, it's just a little bit denser in terms of flavor profile, more raisiny flavors as well. So completely different style of Sauvignon Blanc. Nothing like a Fumé, nothing like New Zealand Sauv Blanc, nothing like Sancerre. I mean, this is unique to its core. It's unique as unique can be in terms of Sauvignon Blanc production. I mean, we've tasted hundreds of Sauvignon Blanc in the last 3 years here from all over Canada with different styles, sparkling, oak on oak. But this is the most unique Sauv Blanc that I had so far. So really interesting. Now, it was just open an hour, but at the beginning of the show. So I want to let that breathe. I might decant it. We'll go from there.
In there, like there's a great example when you use your Enovino on a white wine.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. So that really unique style of wine, I sure enjoy it. It's very different. There's no lack of acidity. Sometimes that's why I wonder when I go through these style of wine, but no. And if you can see my leg, the leg of the wine is a little bit like the thick from plot wine. So big and thick. So yeah. And just to finish that's not the culinary, but like with the hidden bench and all of the 9 wines.
Well, I have to say though about culinary, Mike and Jennifer have not been. So I want to see if we can stop by there and meet. So get this, the donkeys' names are Earl and Phyllis. Okay. Earl and Phyllis, the Italian donkeys. And they guide you through the vineyards while you're tasting wine.
Okay, but I want to meet with Christopher. So Christopher Culinary seems like a really good guy.
The humans too. Okay.
I'm allergic to donkeys, for God's sake. So no way. I'm not getting into that. You're gonna ruin my trip, and I'm not doing that. I want to go taste some wine with Christopher.
I'm so sorry.
So. But yeah, so that's the Thursday night will be the tasting at the Vintage Conservatory where the 2013 Hidden Bench is going to be served. But what I wanted to say is on the Wednesday night, so the day after the conference, we're hosting our happy hour. So the Wednesday show, the Wednesday happy hour for Carl's Wine Club will be hosted live at Lely Stonebridge in Niagara-on-the-Lake with a little get-together with members and people from the industry. So if you're a member and you want to rub shoulder with winemakers from all over Niagara, with winemaker and winery owners, that's the place to go on that Wednesday. We already have the confirmation that Brian Schmidt's going to be on site. Richard De Silva from BC, from the Naramata Bench, is traveling with us, is going to be there. Christopher Culinary from Culinary Estate will be there. I reached out to some pretty big name of the industry to join us. So if you want to spend a Wednesday night and you're in the area in Toronto, you have to join us at Lely Stonebridge, where it probably is going to be one of the best party of the spring in Niagara-on-the-Lake. I can with Marcel Morgenstern.
Best happy hour for sure.
Marcel Morgenstern, the legend at Delaterra Vineyard, will be there as well, and hoping that Lou, the man, the myth, the legend, owner of Delaterra, will be joining us as well.
They are apparently bottling that day, so it sounds like we will be there. Après bottling stop. They need a little snack after they bottle, right? A little bit of relaxing. So
there you go. There you go. So yeah, so that's going to be the Wednesday from 4 to 6:30.
So my link is coming. If you're planning to come, you can also just DM us. We'll save your spot. There's
something fairly, like, it's not going to be a high price ticket. We're talking about $25 per person. Cheese and charcuterie and nice flights of wine, of premium wine at Lely and Stonebridge. So yeah, I'm really excited. hoping to have Hans Sperling and Peter Gamble to join us because they are the winemaker there. I reached out to some other pretty cool wine personality of the Ontario wine scene to join us as well. So if you're a member and you want to rub shoulder with some people who make some of your favorite wines, come and join us. And also the very only and yours, Mira Boucher, is going to be on site as well. So come and
so that Wine Wednesday, I think what we're going to do, just to make it as smooth and interesting and amazing as possible for both in person and online, is part of that evening is going to be pre-recorded, the interview with the Stonebridge winery, and part of it will be live, so you can see exactly what's going on. And I hear there is a bit of a blind tasting challenge that's going to be happening that evening too. So
from parcel east and parcel west of a single vineyard, and I can say that it's going to be from my favorite white grape varietal. So let's put it that way. That week will be the Stonebridge week. So the whole week that we're in Niagara, Stonebridge and Lely are going to be our weekly feature. So it's going to be a heck of a week. But just to close this one off today, this is Plot Wine Week here at Carl's Wine Club, featuring that small artisan producer, minimal intervention, small batch wine like that Tempranillo, which is 50 cases produced of an extraordinary Tempranillo, and cool wines like Chardonnay, Viognier blend. The Neighbors is a Bordeaux blend with Tempranillo in it. So this really, really, really freaking cool wines at a great price point. We're talking about like darn well made big wines that will age nicely, and the most expensive is at $36. So I mean, pretty bang on. And we have access to their initial vintage of Chardonnay, the 2018 Plot Chardonnay. So that's for this week at Carl's Wine Club. So
Amazing. All right. Yeah, Fred DeProfio from Bellaterra just sent us a note that he and Margarita will be stopping in after bottling for April 24th.
Woohoo!
So not next Wine Wednesday. Next Wine Wednesday, we're going to do some fun stuff online. The following one will be in person and online. I'll post the details. And if you are near Niagara, you know where to be on April 24th.
Lady Stonebridge, Niagara on the Lake.
I think Vicky needs to do brunch. I mean, she's a whiz at that. Or you know what? We'll pick up those little things from 13th Street. What are those? The butter tarts. Yes, the butter tarts.
Don't get me started on butter tarts. Don't get me started.
Daryl, you should see what Sandy might be thinking too, because I mean, Sandy's butter tarts rival 13th Street, which is a pretty earth-shattering statement, because 13th Street is epic, but Sandy also makes these phenomenal macaroons. Oh my gosh, yes, butter tarts. There will be butter tarts. I agree. Yes.
There will be lots of butter tarts.
We won't be jet lagged with like a 48-hour trip, so we'll be a little more fun, I think, hopefully.
Well, we'll have time to settle down. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's true. Okay.
Awesome. Let's go. Good to see you guys. Yeah, I know. Elaine, the butter tarts at 13th Street. I mean, those guys need to figure out a way to ship them overnight across the country somehow. There's got to be a way. Yeah.
For the wine or for the win?
Yeah, for the wine. For the win. Yes.
There you go. So
Sandy made the most incredible bourbon peach butter tarts. Oh my God. Yes, for the win. Of course, you're getting auto-corrected as wine, because the computer's saying, why would he say win? He always says wine. I mean.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, Mira Boucher, all of you guys, thanks for joining in. See you next time.
Cheers.